Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The world woke up to a stunning headline. China issues fiery warning after U.S. warship challenges Beijing at Scarborough Shoal. Overnight, what seemed like a distant territorial dispute exploded onto the global stage, grabbing the attention of leaders and citizens everywhere. The South China Sea, already a powder keg of competing claims and simmering distrust, seemed to catch fire overnight. The atmosphere was electric, as if the world was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. News tickers flashed urgently, showing images of warships maneuvering, fighter jets on standby, and diplomats locked in tense meetings. The sense of crisis was unmistakable, and the stakes had never felt higher. The Scarborough Shoal, just a handful of rocks and reefs in the vast ocean, was suddenly the center of global attention. What was once a remote maritime feature now symbolized the struggle for power and influence in the region. The air was thick with tension, as if a storm was about to break. Every wave seemed to echo the uncertainty and anxiety felt by those watching from afar. Chinese Coast Guard ships circled the shoal relentlessly, their loudspeakers blaring warnings in both Mandarin and English. The message was clear: China would not back down, and any challenge would be met with forceful words, and perhaps more. Filipino fishermen who have relied on these waters for generations watched nervously from their wooden boats. They were caught between giants, their livelihoods and safety hanging in the balance as superpowers squared off. Overhead, a U.S. Navy destroyer cut through the waves with determination, its presence a clear and unmistakable message to Beijing. The United States was ready to defend freedom of navigation and challenge any unilateral claims. This was not just another standoff. The confrontation was sharper, the words exchanged more heated, and the risk of miscalculation higher than ever before. The world watched, hoping cooler heads would prevail. China's foreign ministry quickly condemned the U.S. move, calling it a grave provocation and warning of serious consequences if its sovereignty was challenged. The Philippines, meanwhile, stood firm, demanding respect for its sovereignty and the safety of its people, insisting that international law must be upheld in these contested waters. All eyes turned to Scarborough Shoal, as journalists, analysts, and governments around the world scrambled to understand the implications of this dramatic escalation. What happened here would ripple far beyond Asia, touching economies and lives around the globe. The world braced for what might come next, knowing that the fate of a few rocks in the sea could shape the future of international relations. The drama began when a U.S. Navy destroyer sailed close to Scarborough Shoal. The timing was bold. It came just days after Chinese ships had blocked and harassed Filipino supply boats. The U.S. move was a direct challenge to China's sweeping claims in the region. China's response was swift and angry. Coast Guard vessels rushed to intercept the American warship. Loudspeakers blared, "You are entering Chinese waters. Leave immediately." The confrontation was tense, with both sides refusing to back down. Filipino crews, already used to harassment, watched the scene unfold. In recent months, they had faced water cannons, ramming, and even dangerous laser beams. Now, they saw two superpowers flexing their muscles at their doorstep. The world's media zoomed in. Was this the start of something bigger, or just another chapter in a long, bitter dispute? The United States made its intentions clear, leaving little room for doubt about its commitment to upholding international norms at sea. Officials announced that the destroyer's voyage was part of a carefully planned freedom of navigation operation, a mission designed to assert the rights of all nations to sail through international waters. In practical terms, this meant the U.S. was directly challenging what it calls excessive maritime claims by China, especially in areas where Beijing has tried to expand its control. The timing of the operation was no accident. It sent a deliberate message. Washington would not allow Beijing to dominate these strategically vital waters without contest. The operation was not random or routine. It was the result of careful planning and strategic calculation by U.S. military leaders. The mission came at a critical moment, as China was intensifying its harassment of Filipino vessels, raising tensions in the South China Sea. By sending a warship into these contested waters, the U.S. demonstrated clear support for its longtime ally, the Philippines, reinforcing the alliance and providing reassurance in a time of uncertainty. The operation also served as a signal to China and the international community that the world was watching these developments closely and that actions in the region would not go unnoticed. American commanders spoke publicly about the importance of upholding international law, emphasizing that freedom of navigation is a principle that benefits all nations, not just the United States. They stressed that the South China Sea must remain open for all, ensuring that global trade and commerce can continue without interference or intimidation. The U.S. Navy's visible presence was meant to reassure allies, deter further Chinese aggression, and demonstrate a united front with regional partners committed to peace and stability. For the Philippines, this show of solidarity was a welcome and much-needed gesture, reinforcing their confidence in the alliance and their own maritime rights. For China, however, it was seen as a direct challenge to its ambitions in the region, a reminder that its actions would be met with resistance from the international community. China's approach in the South China Sea is often called gray zone warfare, a term that describes a strategic blend of military and non-military tactics. This means using aggressive tactics that stop just short of open war, creating a constant state of tension and uncertainty. At Scarborough Shoal, Chinese ships have rammed Filipino boats, fired water cannons, and engaged in other intimidating actions. They have even used military-grade lasers to blind crews, a tactic that poses serious risks to safety and vision. But the provocations do not stop at sea. They extend into the skies above these contested waters. Chinese fighter jets have intercepted U.S. and allied planes in dangerous maneuvers, showcasing their aerial prowess. Sometimes they fly within meters, risking deadly accidents. Warships shadow foreign vessels, maintaining a constant presence, sometimes coming so close that a collision seems only seconds away. These actions are risky and calculated. One wrong move could spark a crisis, escalating tensions into a full-blown conflict. But China uses them to send a message. We are in control here, asserting dominance over these strategic waters. The goal is to intimidate rivals without triggering a full-blown conflict, maintaining a delicate balance of power. For Filipino fishermen and sailors, these gray zone tactics are a daily threat, impacting their livelihoods and safety. For the world, they are a warning sign of rising danger, a reminder of the fragile peace in this volatile region. Scarborough Shoal may look small on a map, but its importance is huge. It sits in the heart of the South China Sea, a crossroads for global trade. Every year, trillions of dollars worth of goods pass through these waters: oil, gas, electronics, food. If conflict erupts here, the impact would be felt around the world. Shipping lanes could close. Prices for everyday goods could soar. Insurance rates for ships would spike, and global supply chains could be thrown into chaos. The South China Sea is also rich in fish and natural resources. For the Philippines, it is a lifeline for fishermen and coastal communities. For China, it is a strategic prize, key to its security and ambitions as a global power. That is why so many countries watch Scarborough Shoal so closely. What happens here affects not just Asia, but the entire world. The Scarborough Shoal has seen its share of flashpoints. In 2012, a tense standoff between Chinese and Filipino ships ended with China taking control of the area. Since then, Filipino crews have faced near constant harassment. In recent years, the incidents have grown more dangerous. Chinese Coast Guard ships have fired water cannons at Filipino boats, shattering windows and injuring crew members. In one chilling episode, Chinese vessels used military-grade lasers, temporarily blinding Filipino sailors. There have also been armed standoffs. Filipino supply missions to nearby reefs are often blocked by Chinese ships. Sometimes warning shots are fired. The risk of escalation is always present. Each incident leaves scars. For Filipino fishermen, every trip to the shoal is a gamble. For the world, these flashpoints are reminders of how quickly things can spiral out of control. For years, the Philippines tried to balance its ties with China and the West. But recent events have pushed Manila to rethink its strategy. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has moved quickly to rebuild alliances with the United States, Japan, Australia, and other partners. Military agreements have been revived. American troops are back for joint exercises. Japanese and Australian warships now patrol alongside Filipino vessels. The message is clear: Manila is not alone. This pivot did not happen overnight. It was driven by frustration with China's actions at sea. Filipino leaders realized they needed stronger friends to stand up to Beijing's bullying. The shift has changed the balance in the region. China now faces a united front, not just a single rival. President Marcos Jr. has been blunt. In a recent speech, he declared that any attack on Filipino forces, even in the Taiwan Strait, would be a red line. He warned that the Philippines would not hesitate to defend its people, no matter where the threat comes from. China was furious. Its foreign ministry accused Manila of provocation and warned of serious consequences. State media called Marcos reckless and accused him of playing with fire. But Marcos did not back down. He said the Philippines would stand by its allies and defend international law. He also called for more joint patrols and closer defense ties with the United States and its partners. The stakes are high. One misstep could drag the Philippines and its allies into a wider conflict. The response from the international community has been strong. The United States, Japan, and Australia have all sent ships and aircraft to join joint drills with the Philippines. These exercises are not just for show, they are a signal to China that aggression will not go unanswered. In recent months, Allied warships have sailed side by side through contested waters. Fighter jets have flown in formation. Soldiers have trained together on Philippine beaches, preparing for any scenario. Diplomats have also stepped up. Statements of support have poured in from Europe, Southeast Asia, and beyond. The message: the world stands with the Philippines. For Manila, this solidarity is a source of strength. For Beijing, it is a new and serious challenge. Scarborough Shoal is more than a disputed reef. It is a symbol of a region on edge. The standoffs, collisions, and fiery statements are signs of a deeper struggle for power and influence. The United States, China, and their allies are locked in a dangerous dance, each move watched by the world. The unity among the Philippines, the United States, and their partners is stronger than ever, but so are the risks. Every encounter at sea is a test of nerves. One mistake could trigger a crisis that no one wants. Ordinary people, fishermen, traders, families, are caught in the middle. Their lives depend on peace in these waters. But as tensions rise, the future grows more uncertain. The world is watching Scarborough Shoal. The next chapter is unwritten, but one thing is clear: the stakes have never been higher.